Welcome to the Wild Pitch Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Got another episode of the Wild Pitch Podcast coming at you. We have, when I was a young player growing up, there were a couple of legendary guys that played coming from the city. I didn't really get to see them. One of them being Manny Ramirez, and the other one was our guest tonight, Frankie Rodriguez. So, this guy was well known and not a big guy, and just had an absolute cannon. Played shortstop. We're going to get into all that. He's a good friend of Chris Rojas here, and I know that we use his Fungos 33 rods. I have it here with me for all those on YouTube. Right?
Yeah, I flipped that around, man. What are we reading, hieroglyphics?
Yeah,
there it is.
Great Fungo, but we'll get into all of that. But Chris, why don't you take it away? And you know Frankie a little better than us, but like I said, Frankie, I heard about you my whole life as a young player, just maybe 3 or 4 years behind you. So we're honored to have you.
Yeah, I think, obviously similar to what you're saying, Jim. Me growing up in Brooklyn, his name was pretty much, the guy, you know what I mean, when you were a kid playing ball, He was, went to Eastern District High School, which happened to be my zone school, which would have been the high school I went to had I not decided to go to Transit Tech at the time. But he, grew up playing with youth service, right, with Mel Zitter, Frank?
Yeah, and Manny.
And right. So, why don't we start right there? Let's take it back to like Eastern District High School and the youth service and playing with Manny and that whole era when you were coming up.
Yeah, man, when I first got there, my junior high school went up to 9th grade. So I went to 9th grade in junior high school there. And then I started my sophomore year at Lafayette High School, which was a well-known baseball program with Gambuza over there. And John Franco came out of there as well. And then it was just too far for me, man. It was like an hour and 45 minutes one way on the train. And I just ended up transferring to Grand Street. And then when I get there, the baseball coach was a female, Lettieri. She happened to just be out the door as I was coming in, and we had one of our the baseball program was just going to be up in the air because there was nobody that wanted to take over. So we had one of my social studies teachers was a great sports guy. Didn't know much about coaching, and but he knew sports. He enjoyed watching it, so he helped us out. And every day I made the lineup, and we spoke baseball. We spoke baseball on the way there because he came into it late, so he really didn't know the talent on the field. So as we got to the playoffs, he started doing I gave him the respect and I gave him the roster, and he did it on his own. But in the beginning, I helped him out. And
wait, you were a junior in high school,
yeah,
and you were writing out the lineup.
Well, again, yeah. But it makes sense because he was a social studies teacher.
Right. He had no clue at the time.
He had no clue of the talent on the field. He didn't even know the players' names. So as we got into maybe the 5th or 6th game of the season, I was just like, all right, coach, it's on you now. So, through the practices that we had, I got to know the team pretty well. So, and I played with most of them or against most of the guys on my team, my high school team in the summer. So I knew them well. And yeah, man, put together some good seasons. It was fun. It was a good run in high school. I loved it.
How'd you end up with youth service and playing for Mel? So
my uncle, who was kind of like my father figure growing up, I played in Gil Hodges, which is in She Said Bay in Brooklyn, and got to 12, and the big field was coming. And that's what I preach a lot in my organization, that big field is coming for you. # big field is coming. And so we just made the jump to youth service. We heard about it. I went to a couple of workouts in the gym, and and I was able to showcase my talents, and I stuck. So and it was crazy going into that atmosphere in the gym with guys that you hear about growing up as kids, and guys that now you're gonna have to beat some of those guys that have already been there for a couple of years. That was the first time I really got a taste of that type of competition, and I hit the ground running, and I took off.
Frankie, you're known to be growing up in an area that was the streets were pretty rough, but the area of Williamsburg and Bushwick, that's where I get organic drinks now. So, I don't know about it being so tough. Was it, what's the story?
Listen, I went to school in Big Springs, Texas. So youth service had a pipeline into that JUCO over there. So everybody was like, man, you grew up in Brooklyn. I'm like, yeah, it was tough, real tough. But I grew up on the other side of Williamsburg, where there was Hasidic Jews lived in the projects. So there was two police there. There was the precinct police and there was their police. So in that neighborhood,
you were
fight
safe
was
then.
the big thing.
Right.
A fight was a big thing.
Right,
So
right.
there was no drugs, no gangs, none of that. Now five blocks that way or 5 blocks that way was where the real trouble was at. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, I grew up in a tough neighborhood. Yeah, well, not really.
No, but
Type
it
of
was less
talent.
than it is now. It's just changed, so I'm just busting chops. But
Yeah.
Definitely gentrified right now. It's really.
What type of talent was on that youth service team? I mean,
Oh man, so
you guys are awesome.
listen, when I was 13, we had it was like, just think of like the best players in your town coming together. So that's what it was, actually, a youth service at the time. It was the best, the all-stars of every team in high school coming together into that organization. Because even before us, when I got there, the numbers were probably like around 20, 22 players already drafted out of that organization. So that was where the place to be was at. So on the last year that I got to play with Manny was the one guy drafted on that team. And then the year after he left, we had about 7 guys on the team that were drafted. So it was crazy. We went into all tournaments and it was like, I heard about you. And we was like, yeah, but you're pretty good yourself. You're going to get drafted. So, and we ended up going to New Mexico, which was another unbelievable experience. So there was a lot of talent, man, a lot of talent. Some made it, some didn't. You know, when I retired, make a long story short, when I retired in 2001, I was heavy into slow pitch softball. Heavy into slow pitch. I mean, doubleheader 8 a.m., doubleheader 12, and a doubleheader at 3 Saturdays and Sundays.
Jesus Christ.
So my point of the story was I had my son with me, and he was about 12 or 13 at the time. And it was just like, you got to see at this competition, the league was like, the first place prize was like $15,000. And every team had 1 or 2 former pro guys, or they had the playground legends that should have made it and shouldn't have made it. And every game I went to, I was like, that guy, Eli, I heard about that guy. My son's name is Eli. That guy should have made it. That guy should have made it. That guy should have made it. So, and a lot of them I actually played with or against. So you grow up, man. In my era, you grew up and it was just like so many guys around, and it was just crazy the amount of guys that didn't. You know, the streets just grabbed them, and, you know, different one turn, wrong place, wrong time, and a lot of people
Right.
caught up in it.
You know, I guess that lends to like the whole product of your environment, though, right? When it comes to being around good players and how that kind of helps you transform into somebody and develop. You know, as you start to grow and as your game starts to, you know, shape out. You know, being around people like that kind of puts you in a good space, no?
Yeah. You know, talent is one thing. When you're playing against great players is one thing. But then like a guy like playing with Manny like grew up, he was poor, came from DR, just off the boat, lived in Washington Heights. And sometimes our practices were right after school. So he would come from school and like, Dominicans just don't wear socks. So he had no socks. So he practiced in cleats, no socks, the whole practice for like 3 or 4 hours. So we're meeting at the end of the practice, going over things. And he's taking off his shoes and he's bleeding in his feet. Like his toes are just all jacked up. Not even like, and I'm like, man, this guy is like off the boat. Like his toes are jacked up, bleeding right now. And he's not a complaint in you know, at all. And he was just like, wanted to play baseball for the rest of his life. So that puts in perspective, like, yes, talent is great, but what's your drive? Like, how far, like, what does it take? Like, you see something and that puts you in the right direction. What's your motivation? A lot of people have different types of motivation. And for me, that was the turning point for me. I saw him, I was just like, wow, maybe like that train ride home isn't that bad, but look at this guy's toes, they're bleeding. You know, so maybe I'm not that bad, you know?
And you talk about that a lot, right? Like some of your postings and like on social media about how people, you know, you have to have that internal drive, right? You have to want it, you know, for yourself. And I know, like, there's no excuses in your eyes. Like, don't talk to me about excuses. Go out there and make it happen for yourself, right? Because people assume, you know what, you were drafted in the 2nd round, and you know they'll just assume that you were just some natural talent. And of course, you were a naturally gifted athlete, right? But talk about the hard work.
Oh man, like. It's crazy. We would play doubleheaders a Saturday in the morning, like at 9 o'clock in the morning. First of all, we have to be there at 6 because at the time there were no permits. So it was first come, first serve. So we would designate people that like had to be there early, and it was just usually me because I was just like, I'll do it because like I guess I was tough at the time, and I would fight these soccer guys and get them off the field so we could play. And so the day started there at 6 o'clock in the morning, getting there. So that's like an hour and 15-minute one way. So we're leaving the house like at 4:15, 4:30, the latest to get there, to then hold the field until everybody gets there at 8. So we're like sleeping, watching, like, yo, get off the field. Get off the field. Like, so that's where it started for me. Play out double headers, have an hour conversation. And I think this is where I excelled as a player, man, because between Mel Zitter and Daryl Tebu, like the conversations at the end of the games were like very detailed. And I was one of the few guys that weren't just like dozing off. I was like, he's right. And I applied that to my next game. Then you get home, and then all your friends are outside. Yo, let's play SpongeBob. Let's play SpongeBob. So SpongeBob is a SpongeBob in the strike box, and we play it. There's no catcher. It's just you pitching and the guy behind you and 2 guys hitting. So, you throw everything after a doubleheader, mind you. So baseball never really stopped for me. And if those guys weren't there when I got home from my doubleheader, I would go to a handball court. If I made an error that day, I was working on exactly with that error where it was, my backhand or my glove side. I was working on it. And it was just, that was my drive. I just wanted to be good. I just loved it so much that I didn't see it as you have to put in work. You got to do the extra stuff. I just see it as I just want to get better. And that's the way I got better.
No kid ever would go to the field at 6 a.m. to hold the field for you. Like nowadays, they're just not wired like that.
No. I mean, it's against the law now, probably, too. That's the other thing.
What'd you say, Rob?
I said it's against the law now, probably, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but now permits are in place a little bit better. Back then, when I played, it was, so what? I don't care. We're still taking the field type thing. So.
Right. Well, I'm just even talking about, imagine letting your kid take the train to go hold the field at 5 o'clock in the morning. The parent will probably get arrested, So.
Listen, I'm not even going to lie. My mom used to come back from the club and just drive me. Sometimes you would be walking into the club, be like, this time you got to be at the park, 4 o'clock. All right, let's go. So that's the way I grew up. So it was what it was at the time. And you talk about it now and it's just like, damn, it really was that early. So, yeah.
No, that's amazing. Now, what about that process of being a second round pick? Now, did you not sign right away?
So I was the Red Sox first pick in the second round because they had made a trade for Nick Asaski, so I became their sandwich pick. So they didn't have a trade pick in the first round that year. So Their first pick happened to be the first pick of the second round. So that whole process, when I played, when you got drafted, you were the property of the team the whole year until the next year's draft. Long story short, I ended up signing like 6 hours before the deadline to re-enter the draft. So,
why not right away? Why didn't you?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a backstory behind that.
Oh my God, I don't know. So you might get mad inside, but I actually laugh at it. So, the night before that they are allowed, the last night where they're allowed to make their final offer before, that's it. It's closed out. That's it. You can't sign until after your college season. So the night before, they offered me $80,000, kid from the projects. And that's what they said. Listen, nobody in your family is ever going to make this amount of money. You should take it. This is a good amount of money. And, you probably won't ever make this amount of money. I'm like, wow, you really don't understand my goal. So thank you for that. You just gave me all the motivation in the world. Banged the phone on him. Fast forward to an amazing year I had in JUCO. And it was great. Finished it off at the Junior College World Series. And at that time, there was no cell phone. So 21 hours from Grand Junction, Colorado, back to Big Springs, Texas. Every 5 hours, I had to pull over and call my agent. And it was just like, hell no, that's too low. Don't you understand the season I just had? I got to tell you my numbers. You know that. Hell no. And then the number came out and it was right. And then we agreed. Fast forward to instructional ball. Instructional ball. So at the end of the JUCO season, I went to a short season A ball in Elmira with the Red Sox. Had a good season as a shortstop, and went to instructional league.
But don't get there yet, because I don't want to gloss over. I don't want to get we're glossing over something that I wanted to kind of bring up, because obviously you talked about going to that JUCO, down in Spring. Where's it at again in Texas? Where in Texas?
The junior college, Big Springs.
Yeah. Big
Howard.
Springs.
Yeah.
Howard. And that's where you said there was like the pipeline, right? That they used to send guys all the time.
Yeah.
And you go and you because you said you had a good season, but you kind of glossed over what kind of season that was. I mean, and the reason why this is pretty important is because you wind up winning the Dick Howser Award, which is the award for the best collegiate baseball player in the country. So it's not
the Heisman of baseball.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, so you, as a shortstop there, you hit 26 homers, you had 90 ribbies, right?
Yeah.
On the mound, you led the country in strikeouts, right? So you were a two-way guy, and you were doing it on both sides of the diamond. Like tell us that story. Like, I mean, fill in that gap.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like, I still had that pissed off face from that conversation, and I kissed my mom goodbye, and I left. And on the plane, for me, it was just. I guess that's why I really, really matured. As a 10-year-old going into tournaments like in Missouri, Shelbyville, Indiana, you get to go with host families and you sort of grow up. You get to see different things outside of New York and you mature. But I think my maturity level maxed out that flight because I was writing things down, my goals, writing things down that are not going to get in my way. And right off the plane, I was like, Coach, where's the batting cage? Show me. No, I don't want to know where my dorm is at. Show me where the batting cage is at. And I got to my dorm, put my stuff down. Me and my roomie, which happened to be my catcher, Freddie Ramos at the time, we put our stuff down. We grabbed our gear and we were swinging. We were swinging right off the plane. And Freddie was just like, Frank, what's going on? I'm like, and I told him the story. And he was like, all right, let's go. And it was every night after games, we get home from a road trip. I needed to go to sleep, knowing that I fixed something I didn't do right in the game. Even if I happen to go 4 for 4 or 5 for 5, even if I hit a couple of homers, I was still working on something. So, I really matured on the way there to Texas, on the way to school. And I just didn't let anything stop me, man. And it happened to be a really good season. For me, the good season, the best part about it, and I feel my struggles weren't so big that I couldn't overcome them because any struggle that I had, even as a younger kid, I immediately knew how to fix it. So that's what I did. I struggled on the mound. I went with my catcher, my roomie, turned the lights on the bullpen, on the mound, and I threw 10, 20 pitches and I worked it out. Hitting, I struggled. I felt like I wasn't hitting good pitches. I was like, Freddie, throw me bad pitches. And I hit 1 or 2 out of the 20 that he threw. And I focused on zoning in the pitches and stuff like that. Same thing on fielding. If I made an error, I need ground balls. Freddie hit me. So I knew how to fix a lot of things. So that's why that season I went over there with a different type of focus. But I understood how. I understood myself. I understood the player that I was and what I needed to do to fix the things immediately. So that's what led to a good season for me.
Well, hey, Frankie, so they offered you $80,000. What was the slot money at that time for that?
Oh, man. So the first round pick at that time, man, I don't even remember who it was. I think they were offering them about $400 or $500. The last pick in the first round was about $400. And then there was me, $80,000. And that's I read that in the paper. That was another thing I wrote down on the way there. Like, these guys made this. This is what they offered you. Remember that, and it worked out.
Was that the best thing that ever happened to you, right? Not knowing you, but knowing you're being like a legendary guy, and everybody knows that you're good and this and that. You would think that your mentality would be a little different,
Definitely. I had a different type of motivation. Everybody has their backstory. Everybody has their motivating factor, And it's funny you say that. One of the best things that happened to me was, yes, I was in a position to get drafted, thankfully. My talent was there. But one of the best things that happened to me in college was I went in as a switch hitter. And we were down in Texas Tech. And we were playing Texas Tech. And I think it was my first at-bat. I got smoked in my elbow. My elbow looked like Elephant Man, bro. I was out there like that. And we didn't have a shortstop. So I had to play in, and I was just throwing the first, just like launching it. I made all the plays, thankfully. And after that game, I was like, Coach, after that at bat, I'm like, Coach, I'm probably not going to hit lefty anymore. And
Hey, screw this.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. There were
Isn't
no
that what-
elbow guards at the time either, so.
Right. It wasn't that good in a lefty hitter and they made him hit righty because
Yeah,
of that
hell
as well,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I
Hell
remember hearing about that.
I know David Cohn. They hated that he used to bat lefty.
Yeah. So fast forward to that story where I get to instructs. So I get to instructs and this older man comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, Frankie, man, I just wanted to apologize to you. I know the phone call that we had, I heard through the grapevine you weren't happy about it. And I just want you to know that's the business side." I was like, "No, brother, thank you, man. You just don't understand the motivating factors you gave me to get what I got. But thank you, though." And I shook his hand and I pat him on the back. And I was like, "Thank you." And I walked away. So, no hard feelings. I understand it's a business, but.
You know what's interesting is that as you're listening to you speak, it's like, there's so many ways to take criticism, or there's so many ways to take like a negative situation, right? And a lot of times people default to either getting pissed off or they default to kind of throwing in the towel. You're telling us a story here and you flip it the other way. You're like, no, you know what? There's a positive here for me, and I'm gonna figure that out, and I'm gonna make it a positive for me, right? I mean, so that mindset, that mentality, I mean, it's something that's kind of put you in a position to be successful. And I mean, I got to assume it's what helped you get to the point of being able to pitch in the big leagues for so long, right? So, where did that come from? Was that like your mom? Was that just like innate? Was it like an uncle? How did that, where did that come about?
It was seeing my mom. I grew up without a dad. I grew up in a single family home, and my mom was the breadwinner, and she worked every day. She worked every day, Saturdays and Sundays. Didn't come home till like 6 or 7 at night because she got out at 5 and it was 2 hours of train ride to come home. There were times that we had to move out because she made a significant amount of money that didn't allow us to be in the projects. So we had to get out and we had to go live with an uncle. And then I had to go live with an aunt. And then we got back in the projects, and I just seen her struggle. And that was, besides them lowballing me like that, and it was just seeing my mom struggle and, seeing her come home and being exhausted, and at times I'm like, Mom, just show me how to cook. I'll cook. And I would cook for us. And I just never wanted her to struggle like that again. So that was another big factor there. So, just seeing the hard work that, she put in every day to keep a roof over our head and food in our mouth. And I promised myself I was going to get her out of that situation as soon as possible. So.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, it's amazing what motivates people, though. But it's one thing to be motivated, but to materialize it too. That's the other factor that kind of gets lost in the equation.
And I think we all have our own stories, right? Whether it be cut from teams, or I think that's huge in the development of an athlete. It's almost a blessing when those things happen, right? Just that extra motivation. Michael Jordan type thing is cut from his high school team, and I know I was cut from team.
You would think that.
Right.
Yeah.
Not today's.
You would think that, and then it's you got a bad review on Yelp, or somebody's trashing your organization because you didn't put their son to play. Meanwhile, your son's. When I first started coaching travel ball, it was with Ike Goldstein with Long Island Tigers out in Long Island. And one of the things he told me, and I was just like stubborn. I'm like, no, hell no, hell no. He was like, keep stats. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Keep stats. And in my second year, I kept stats, and a parent comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, why isn't my son playing?" I was like, your son's ERA is probably like at an 8.5 right now. He's walked the first 7 guys he's ever faced. No strikeouts. He's always behind in the count. Maybe this is not the sport for him. Because I don't see him motivated every day. I don't see him trying to get better. I see him laughing with the guys, which is great. He's a good teammate. He never complains, but I don't see him trying to get better. And they were like, all right. And nobody ever talked to me about stats again. Once they found out that one parent knew that I was keeping stats, nobody else could say anything. So, but everybody does have their motivating factors on and getting cut from a team should help a kid. But when you have these parents coddling and pacifying their kids like that, it becomes a little difficult.
Yeah, we live in a different generation for sure. I think that's an understatement, right? I mean, you think about how, any type of adversity is now it's almost criminal, right? You like you said, you're looked at or viewed as some bad guy because you challenge a kid, or because there's no clear path for them, or they're not being what you call it, looked at as the greatest player on the team. And, you know, parents get offended really easy nowadays.
Yeah. But you know, you need that extra motivation sometimes to get in that extra sprint, that extra squat, you know.
Yeah.
You can think about that coach that cut you, told you that you weren't any good. And
Yeah.
I know that was huge for me, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we all know we want that for our kids. We want them to have those moments. But now the parents, they shield them from those moments.
Right. Well, adversity shapes you, right? It helps shape you. And it's not just in the game, and it's for something down the line, you know.
Yeah.
Later on in life, you know, you're gonna experience a whole lot of other obstacles and challenges, you know, that you're not gonna be equipped for because you never, you know, everything's been moved out of the way from you prior to that, you know.
I think one of the main factors is, Chris, you know this, we grew up in a different era. If your parent was there, that was great. You know, for us, sometimes my mom was never there. She was there once in a while when she had a day off or vacation, so she would come. But in this era of showcases, and then the era of social media, well, Stephanie's son Johnny is over there in perfect game and he's ranked. Why isn't my son ranked? So there you go. So now that becomes a little bit of a ego jolt to that parent, and now they want to throw money at a trainer, and the trainer, instead of saying, listen, this is one thing I do when I train. I'm like, hey, you're new to me. I'm going to give you an eval, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go from there. I don't just sit there and say, hey, all right, 10 sessions, this is what you get. Nope. But instead of the trainers doing that, they're just taking the money and, oh, yeah, I'll talk to the coach for you. He's doing well. And it really doesn't work out like that. But these parents, man, I got to tell you, I went to an ECR showcase 2 years ago. And I was actually working it. And this kid, mind you, this kid looked like he shouldn't have been on the field at all, you know. But he actually was, surprisingly, he had some pop. And I'm like, okay, good. Didn't have a position. He played first, he played third. And, you know, in those games, you showcase. And then either the afternoon segment is actual games or the next day is games. And then when you get to the second day of that, there's some guys that, you know, you need to move around. So they ended up putting this kid in the outfield. The parent runs on the field and tells the coach, my son doesn't play outfield. And then, all of the college coaches, this was at baseball heaven, all of the college coaches got up and went to the other side of the field. And the guys that were running, they were like, hey, you know what, ma'am? I'm going to give you some of your money back. Take your son and just leave the field right now. And I'll let all these college coaches and every coach that I know about your son that he doesn't play the outfield. Yeah. And that's the era we grew up in. And that's the sense, you know, that entitlement that parents might have, and the false and the false hopes they have living vicariously through their kids. Any phrase you want to throw at that. And
right.
That's where we're at right now.
It's an epidemic, to say the least.
Yeah.
Hey, is it true? I heard this back in the day that when Manny got drafted, because he got drafted after you, right?
Before me. He got drafted? He was a year older than me.
Ah, okay.
He was a Dominican year older than me.
All right. So then what? I thought there was some rumor. Maybe I got this wrong. Then that he was drafted, and I guess because of your situation, they didn't want to mess around with the money, and they gave him what he needed, or something like that, or they didn't try to do him wrong. Was that not? I guess that's not accurate.
No, I don't think so. I never really heard that story because he was always a year in front of me.
All right, so then that's irrelevant.
Yeah, nice research, Chris.
No, you know what? That goes to show you about how stuff gets through the pipeline that has no truth to it.
Yeah, that's why you got to be careful who you interview.
So I got a story for you that I got to ask if it's true. Did you get off the plane in Elmira wearing a Yankee hat?
No. So
this is not true either?
No. It's true, but it wasn't Yankee. So this is what it was. So in Harlem, in Harlem, there's all kind of gear you can buy, like the fake
signed by the Red Sox. So now you fly into your city. Go ahead.
The fake Gucci shirts, the fake Puma shirts, that just do it. So I ended up buying this short and top shirt. It looked like a jersey, happened to be pinstripes, and it just said New York. It wasn't the Yankees New York.
I got you.
It wasn't the Yankees New York.
Well, now but was that done purposely by you? Were you trying to send a message?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I grew up not even liking the Yankees. I don't even know why I
wore that. Yeah, you're a Met fan.
Why I wore that. So I show up there. I show up to just come in like showing up in Elmira to the clubhouse, and I meet the head coach, Dave Holt at the time. And Holty, he goes, "Hey, Frankie, nice to meet you, man. I heard a lot of good things about you. Here's your locker. Here's all your stuff. Get going. Just so you know, we're going to take $500 out of your check for showing up with Yankee stuff into a Red Sox organization." I'm like, no, this is not Yankee stuff. He was like, it walks like a duck. It talks like a duck. It's a duck. It's a Yankee outfit. Sure enough, they out of my $850 check, they took $500.
500?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
insane.
Yes, sir. Yes,
No way.
$500, brother.
Well, you were a bonus baby. They had to stick it to you somehow.
Yeah, you're right. They had to get some of that money back somehow, right?
Oh my God. So, and I wanted to bring that up too, because I think we've all been there in our careers. Like, I know when I was with the Dodgers initially, a kid would walk in with the cool new Milwaukee hat, and man, the coaches would flip on him, right? And like, do they pay your check, you dumb son of a, like, that's so stupid. Like, they're wearing other teams into the locker room of a team that you're playing for. So
yeah, and even if it's your team gear that you're wearing outside the field, because I was one of those kids when I first got my car, I put a Boston Red Sox little thing, an emblem in the front, and when I first got it, the coach was there, the clubhouse guy was there, and a couple of guys on the team were there just like laughing. They were laughing at me walking over there, and the guy just goes, vroom, 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 just takes it off. He just bends it, breaks it. He goes, "Do not put a bullseye on your back." Like,
oh man.
So I'm like, I didn't even think of it like that. I was just excited, and yeah, so it's
How
great.
about
Not only with other teams, but your own team.
How about the guys with the vanity plates, and they did roll up in their Escalades and it'd say like flamethrower or
Oh, they get the tattoos. They get the tattoos with something.
bringing the heat. Like, those are the guys that lasted like a year and a half.
Those are the ones that end up with Tommy John, and they got right over the tattoo. They're getting a zipper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you seen it all, man.
So you went through the system pretty fast.
So I mean, yeah. After my first year, they really gave me the option to continue as a shortstop, but they sweetened the deal as a pitcher. They said, "Listen, you could probably be a starting shortstop in the big leagues, whether it's with us or another team, in maybe 5-6 years. But you could be in the big leagues in 3 years as a pitcher." I'm like, "Okay, let's go. I'm a pitcher now. Here we go."
Right.
And that's my goal, playing the big leagues, whatever. So, it was like a 2-second. Okay, I'll be a pitcher. So they sweetened it like that. I'm not gonna say no. And listen, I would have made it up in 2, but there was a strike. That strike year set me back. So, I was able to put up good numbers at every level I went to, because, again, a lot of motivating factors, and I just wanted to be there. So,
All right. So you get to the big leagues with the Red Sox, and get traded to the Twins, right?
Yeah.
And then
I remember him most, playing against the Yankees all the time with the Twins. That's
No.
when the Yankees were really loaded too.
yeah. But then he goes to Seattle and he becomes the enforcer over there.
yeah.
True or not true?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So who do you call that guy in hockey, Jim? That when they
I know me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Ty Domi. That's awesome.
Yeah. I only reason I know that is because they hung his jersey up in my locker after every time I had it.
So
Explain why he's the enforcer. I'm not knowing about this stuff. Let's hear it.
all right, so the stories go, as folklore, happens to travel, that he was brought into a game to send a message to the Yankees. All right, it was a close game, and they had the closer warming up in the pen as well. Mesa, right? Mesa was the closer?
Yeah.
Right? But they didn't go to Mesa first because they wanted a message sent. And the only guy that could send the message the right way, according to Lou Piniella, was Frank Rodriguez.
Yeah, so the game didn't start out good. Our starting pitcher, Gil Mesh, just got destroyed. He didn't even make it out the second inning. And so I come out of the bullpen, and the score was like 9-0 in the second inning. I come out of the bullpen. I ended up throwing five scoreless, and I'm done after my fifth inning. The Steamer, the pitching coach at the time, goes, "Hey, you done, man? Ice it up. See you later." So I go in the clubhouse. I have my ice on. I'm in shorts. Uniform is already in the bin, and We start banging around. 5, 6 runs. It's 9-7 now. And it was 9-5. And A-Rod comes up, hits a 3-run homer. And then Edgar Martinez comes up. He's the next hitter. So Grimsley from the Yankees at the time gave up the 3-run homer to A-Rod. And he dusts Edgar. Edgar's just like, oh, all right, no problem, whatever. Next pitch, just right in his elbow, shatters his elbow. He's done for the season. And, Edgar Martinez was a veteran, and Lou Piniella just always took care of his veterans. And Lou Piniella, when I raided in the dugout, they showed him. And I was just like, damn, that's messed up. They got Mesa coming, though. Mesa's going to hit somebody. So I'm like about 15, 20 minutes into my ice. I'm about to, like, unwrap it. And Lou Piniella comes into the clubhouse with his broken-ass Cuban Spanish English accent. He goes, Frankie, you got to go out there. You got to fucking hit somebody, man, because I'm not bringing in Mesa. You got to go out there. I'm like, Lou, I had ice on for 20 minutes. And I look at the trainer, and the trainer just, like, turns around and walks away. He's gone. So I'm out there. I go out the next inning, and I'm warming up, and I'm just like swinging it. My arm is numb. So I got the first guy out, Luis Sojo, and then my boy, I played with him in Minnesota, Chuck Knobloch, comes up. No big deal. Hit him square in the ass. No big deal. He didn't even look at me. He went to first. He knew what was coming. And Clemens was talking, like, in my direction. Come to find out later, he was actually talking to the first base umpire because the game before, he was the home plate umpire, and he was throwing inside, and he had given Clemens a warning. And I thought he was talking to me. I'm like, shut up. Like, come out here. I don't care. Like, because I didn't like him when he was with the Red Sox. He didn't treat rookies well at all. Like, he really just was like, don't talk to me. You're not even on my level type thing. So I had it out for him as I'm walking off the field. And I was just like, and then Girardi, I get like within about 5 feet of Girardi at home plate in the circle. And he goes, hey, man, if you're going to do something, do it. If not, get off the field. I was like, threw my glove right at him. I caught him a couple of times. And, we got into a big scrum, and they picked me. My boy, Jay Buhner from right field, comes and picks me up. He was like, good job. And we get to the fence right by the dugout. And he's still holding me, not letting anybody get to me. And I look to my right, and Shane Spencer. Shane Spencer is Shane Spencer's the whitest white boy. And he was red. It was like freaking fire. It looked like the bull in Durham, like the smoke coming out of his nose. And he was just throwing guys left and right trying to get to me. And then they got him. And then Jim Leyritz gets through. I don't know how Jim Leyritz got like, how do you attack, like, run to somebody and then go like this? I grabbed his head, and I don't know how, like, I don't know how the next day he's doing an interview, his eyes all shut. And that's what I'm known for. Not a kid that made it out the projects. I'm known as the kid that just beat up Gerard. That's the story right there.
It's actually pretty cool, though.
Yeah. And then, I had to do something like that again when we played. One of the first times we were playing in the interleague, and we were playing in L.A., and they hit Junior, and Junior was livid. And they brought me out of the bullpen. And Gruzelanek, who was a toothpick, I threw him inside, not even, like, he could have just went like that, and he dove out the way, and he looked at me, and I was just like, never. Threw another pitch inside, and then the next pitch I hit him. And then everybody just came out, nothing, no big deal. Everybody cleared out. And Junior from center field was like, that's right, Frank, hit the next one. I was like, smoke the next one. And then it was just like, it was crazy. It was a crazy, crazy fight. I don't know if you guys remember Jose Paniagua.
Yeah, pitcher. Yeah, right-handed. Yeah, he threw hard.
Paniagua runs from the bullpen into the training room, comes out with a pair of scissors, and he's like, what? So that's how I became the enforcer. Long story short, that's how I actually ended up going to Cincinnati, because Junior's agent ended up calling my agent, and he was like, get his ass over here. So that was nice.
That is, you're throwing these names around, and man, listen, all you guys play with some great guys, but that's a really cool bunch to play with. You got Edgar Martinez. I mean, you played with Manny obviously in high school, but I think him and Edgar are the best right-handed hitters of all time, potentially. But you have anything for us about Junior? What type of guy, teammate? And
he's a great guy, man. Great guy. He's a godfather to my son. Great guy.
Really?
So yeah, he had some tight hamstrings one year. What year was this? 99, I think it was. And he had the All-Star break off that he wasn't going to go play in the All-Star game or the Home Run Derby. So we went home to his house in Tampa. It was me, Jay Buhner, Tom Lampkin, which was the backup catcher at the time, and we just stood over his house. So we get to his house, and he was like, hey, man, make yourselves at home, because nobody was there. And he was like, you got this over here, this over there. There's a pool table over there. I was like, bro, what are you talking about? There's no pool table over there. And he goes, hold on. Doop, doop. And the pool table just comes like this out of the floor. I'm like, oh, okay. That's how we doing it? All right.
Right.
All right. But a great guy, like, great teammate too. Like, it's clicky. It's clicky in the big leagues. Everybody has their guys. But if anybody needed anything, whether it was autographs or anything, like, hey, come meet my son or come meet my cousin, Junior would go. Like, it was no big deal. And he was just that guy. Like, he was that guy that understood, every part of the game and he took care of every part of the game. So, great guy.
What about a young A-Rod at the time?
I don't have anything bad to say about A-Rod. He was the first guy there, last guy to leave. I could see how, his arrogance was at a younger age, but so what? He was good. You could do that. You got to have that little bit of arrogance, that little bit of chip on your shoulder. But nobody worked harder than him. You couldn't tell him anything. The guy worked hard.
I love him. I think he's just
another great teammate. It was fun. It was fun just sitting at the back of the bus with these guys because him and Jeter were on the phone all the time, and he was just like, hey, so what did this pitcher do today? And it was just like, okay. And he's writing shit down, and Jeter's telling him, hey, this guy tips his glove, his finger wiggles, like, watch that. You can still catch a sign. They go off a third sign after the third inning, fourth after the fifth. Like, they do stuff like that.
As you said, it's amazing, right, Jim? Because that's what Cat always talks about. Frank Rodriguez always talks about how in tune guys are into the game and how they're able to pick up just little details that give them a little edge here and there, Because kids don't know anything about that, and they don't know about watching the game, first of all. But
Catalanato talks about him and A-Rod were tight before. A-Rod had like that span in the early 2000s where he kind of like lost himself a little bit, where he went a little overboard with what he thought he was. He kind of he had like a bad span there that everybody knows about. But leading up to that, and we were around him a couple times, and he was absolutely unbelievable guy to talk to. But the one thing about him was he talked baseball 24/7. And Frank spoke even when he was with Texas. He's like one of the youngest guys on the team, and he commanded that team. He was making moves in the front office, getting certain relievers. He was talking baseball in the back of the plane. He was having team meetings on how to attack each pitcher.
He was making the lineup out like Frankie did when he was in high school.
Right.
Yeah. No, he was that dude, as a younger guy.
Yeah.
Still a little in his place because there's just so many veterans on the team in Seattle, but they embraced him. They embraced him really good because and really fast because they understood that he was, like you guys are talking about, he was a baseball IQ guy all the time. And those older guys liked it because at the time he wasn't so into himself. It was more about baseball that he loved it and things that he's seen and how he could make everybody better. But he was a great teammate when I played with him for sure, man.
That was some squad though. Jeez.
Yeah, what a great team to be a part of.
Oh my
God. Edgar Martinez, Mike Cameron, Jamie Moya, Freddie Garcia, Ricky Henderson. Oh God, it was ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. David Bell, crazy.
Was Pat Mahomes with the Twins when you were there?
Yeah, at the Twins. Yeah, definitely Pat Mahomes, man.
That was the Scott Erickson era too, right?
Huh?
Is that like the Scott Erickson era too?
No, when I came in, when I got traded to Minnesota, Scotty was heading to Baltimore at the time.
I just left, yeah.
Yeah, he just left. So yeah, Pat Mahomes was great, man. He was a great teammate. He was one of those guys where I would say it wasn't the New York style of growing up, how I grew up, but the Texas version of how I grew up. And we spoke about a lot of things that happened in our neighborhood and stuff. And, he had that motivation as well, too. So,
That's good. So one of the staples on our show, and we get a lot of good feedback from the listeners, is we ask everybody their call-up story. So we want you to set up the day you got called up, where you were, what happened, and what it was like for you.
Yeah, we want to live vicariously through you right now. Because
So it was in 95. It was the year after the strike, right? It was the year after the strike, and they expanded the roster by one player for a certain period of time. So I was that 26th guy. And they told me, they brought me in, And Kevin Kennedy at the time was probably the worst dude I've ever met in my life, man. No baseball IQ, which is weird because he was a catcher, so he should have been a something up there.
And this is where, in AAA?
No, this was in spring training.
Spring training.
I made the team out of spring training.
Okay.
And he calls me into the office. He goes, I don't know how the hell you made the team. Ha ha ha, I'm just playing. Ha ha ha, I'm just playing. But he goes, listen, there was a lot of other choices out there, but you were the best one out of them. And congratulations, you're coming with us up north. Get all your stuff in order. This is all the information you're going to need. And just don't suck, because I don't care who you are, what type of prospect you are. I'll ship you out real quick. I'm like, oh, no problem. You ain't got to tell me that. I'm here to do whatever I can to stay and help the team. So fast forward to when we land, and I was the last one off the plane, and he was the last one off the plane. And he goes, hey, I know I was a little bit drunk when I talked to you. I was like, you know what, Skip? I thought I smelled that, man. I thought it was just the room, but I thought I smelled that. He goes, I still remember what I told you. Don't suck. I will ship you out. So that's my entry. Like, don't.
So
suck.
wait, so you were in? So you guys were in Fort Myers when he told you?
Yeah, we were in Fort Myers. It was
the last day of camp, or
the second to last day of camp. Second to last day of camp, and I made the team out of spring training. And
did you think you had a shot going into the camp that you were going to make the team?
Reporters tell you, but you want to believe it when you hear it from the right people.
Right.
And I didn't believe it. I'm one of those guys, like, don't tell me about it. Show me. Let me sign something that tells me that I made it. And I got the call in the office. It was right before the report time in spring training was 9 o'clock, and I always got there like 7:45 because I just like to just hang out. And he goes, it was only two people there. He goes, oh shit, you're early. Come in, let me talk to you. And then that's when the conversation happened with the GM at the time.
So what was that initial feeling though? So forget the fact that he was drunk and he told you sucked and that.
At 8 o'clock in the morning, he was drunk, bro. How?
It never felt. Nobody has a they just told me I made it. Nobody.
Right.
Every story is fantastic.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it was hair of the dog that he was drinking last night and he just needed to get one back in and just to be able to feel good that day. But 8 o'clock in the morning, it was like, wow. But the feeling was just like, hell yeah, this is what I worked for. Mom, like, let's go. Like,
so that was the first person you called, was your mom?
Hell yeah. I was like, yo, Mom, like, meet me in Boston, and that's where we're going. So it was a great feeling, man. I couldn't stop smiling, and all the big guys were like, all right, bro, now what you gonna do? Mo Vaughn was like, hey, youngin, what you gonna do now? I'm like, all right, bro, just give me a chance. And then Aaron Seeley at the time, he took me under his wing, soft-spoken guy, a real nerd, real baseball nerd, like stat guy. And he was just like, hey, so this is what you're going to do, because my first year, this is what I went through. Expect this, expect that. And I was just like, thank you, brother. And it was fun.
And did that help you, having that type of insight from those guys?
It's sort of like they laid the groundwork.
But it's your own experience, right? You still have your own experience, right, that you have to go through.
Yeah. I don't know, but people tell me, like, how was it playing in front of all these fans? How was it playing with this guy and that guy? I don't know. As far as I don't know what I have in me that keeps me like very humble and grounded, but I was just like, I never was a starstruck guy. I never was the guy like, oh shit, that's A-Rod there. I was like, yo, what's up, A-Rod? Like that. So once I got in front of all of those guys, it was just like, what's going on? Like, I felt like I belonged there because I worked so hard and everything I did to get there. So yeah, every advice that everybody ever gave me, I took it and tried to apply it.
No, listen, the mentality, obviously it was, you were born with some of it and you made the rest of it, but most of the guys that have success like yourself, they're cool cucumbers, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. Like, we coach at college, those kids that just don't care about the moment. And I know you're coaching at college too. And I guess we're going to have to get Barbieri on here one of these days. Apparently he's like really, what did Vinny from Access say? He's like the #1 interview.
Yeah, he said that. He said he's the best guy to talk to.
He's good.
We know him a little bit.
And just to kind of dress it up so that people know that, obviously Charlie Barbieri is the head coach at Maritime, where Frank is the assistant coach at now as well. So, you guys are doing pretty good things over there. But, like, how are you enjoying that college experience?
Well, I got to be honest. It's a different type of experience because nobody's going to get drafted out of there. Nobody. Even our best player the year we won our conference wasn't that guy to be playing, get the chance to play pro ball. So you attack it a different way. Now it's just like, understand, get to practice, work hard. This is your college experience. This is what you're going to do to help your teammate. And these are the stories that you're going to tell when you graduate and you come back for alumni. And, it's a different type of focus. And it takes a different type of practice plan for these guys, because these guys are mechanical engineers, man. These guys graduate Friday and Monday. They're working, they're shipping out to a different part of the world, already making six figures in their first year. So, the drive is different. They still love baseball. They still want to be a part of the team, but you can tell it's different from what we expect from a player, or what you guys definitely are trying to look. You get a prospect coming in and immediately it's like, okay, this guy might play pro ball. Not in maritime. We just enjoy it, man. And it's just, it's can be easy to coach, but again, you have to figure out the ways to talk to everybody. It's just like, Chris, when you manage your team, is everybody, you got to talk to different kids different ways. Mm-hmm. It really applies there. It really applies there, because the level of discipline that these guys have, some of them that come in to be soldiers at the end of the day, they're like, there's nothing you can tell them that their drill sergeant hasn't already drilled in their head. So their focus is there. It's just working around their schedules, just like any college coach. But it's fun. It's fun because these guys look forward to every moment on the field and they enjoy it. So it's definitely fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique thing you got there. I remember that one good team you had. You going to a regional and half of them couldn't even play, right? Because they had to go to sea.
Our starting 9, we only had 2 out of the starting 9. The other 7 had to ship out. We had 3 POs on the field.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but they changed it after that, because the new AD came in and he was a former maritime basketball player, and he was like, hell no, that's not going to happen again. And they changed it around, which was actually cool. So now we're getting turf this year. It's going to be done by August, so it's going to make it a little bit easier to recruit, and we'll see what happens.
So they actually going to have that done right now, even with this nonsense going on?
They're starting early. The money was already allocated. That's already paid, and
wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Chris, we pass maritime all the time
on the Thrives deck, right?
Underneath the Thrives deck, yeah.
And a lot of the kids go, "Oh man, I'd like to play in that field," and I say, "I never want to."
Oh, because it's on the water.
Frankie, I can't take the cold, man. That's all I think about.
It is cold, man. You really quick. You learn how to layer up, and we have a couple of BTU units working out there, and it gets cold. It gets cold.
This guy is such a soft pansy. Oh my God. You got to see him. It gets so bad. He doesn't even wave guys home. He just points when they
put it back in the pocket.
They can't move. Marshmallow man down there. And then when I get a foul ball and I got to throw it back to the pitcher, I can't. I have to shimmy my whole body.
Grenade.
Yeah, it's a grenade. I got a shot put it with. Oh, man. I am the softest little bitch you can imagine.
Frankie, tell us a little bit about the bat company, 33 Rods.
So, I mean, I deal with some guys that I really trust them. And so a lot of people have different takes on bats. So when I worked with another company, I won't name, I got the ins and outs, like the shit that everybody does and all the companies, and there's a lot of shenanigans going out there. Like, and I try to tell these kids and I try to educate them. I'm like, just because you're paying for a $150 bat on eBay doesn't mean it's a quality bat. That could have been sitting in the factory for a long time and it's saturated with water because of the factory and the moisture and all that stuff. So I listen, I don't make a lot of bats in a year. The most I've ever made in a year was probably about maybe 300 or 400. So I keep it small. I stay with the youth and some high school guys, and I do a lot of fungos. I did like about 8 or 9 fungos for the Navy guys because I used to go there to the summer Navy camp with them. And honestly, it's not even for name recognition. It was just like, it was cool just to have, some guys over there with my logo and stuff like that. But I mean, it's nothing big. I do gloves too, because when I used to have that job, I also got a connection overseas, and it's fun. It's fun to be able to, like, yes, I'm a coach, but Now I'm dealing with educating them on how to have a proper glove, like what your glove should look like, what it should feel like, what your bat should look like, your weight. You shouldn't be swinging at 33. You should be swinging at 32. I can make you 32 and a half, stuff like that. They enjoy that, and they never get to see that part because they never understand it. They're just ordering a bat or ordering a glove. So I break things down for them, and they're like, okay, that makes sense. So
All right. So
I'm not making a living off of it. It pays a couple of bills, but I'm not making a living off of it.
It's a hobby. It's a hobby for him. You just mentioned something, though. Now I'm going to segue into. So I'm going to bring up two topics now that are going to be. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. All right. So the first one will be easy. It'll be an easy one for you. It's a breeze. All right. You said glove. First thing that came to my head when you said glove is you go at everybody with the no funneling. Hashtag no funneling for the infielders.
Yeah.
Right. So Jimmy was a tremendous infielder. That's probably the only reason why he got drafted, because he couldn't hit himself out of a wet paper bag if he tried. But
Yep.
Explain to him what no funneling is.
So to me, let me give you the premise of why I always say this. I feel, this is my personal feeling, I feel funneling is a negative anticipation of a bad hop, because your first move is to bring everything to the center of your body.
Right.
I like your hands out in front. And as your hands are coming to your body, you should be taking that ball out, and it should be up in that zone. Why is every drill that's done, Ron Washington, everything that's done is just like this, out in front, right? Out in front. So why field out in front and then bring it to your body and then separate and throw? I feel like it's just inefficient. I feel like it's inefficient. As soon as it hits the glove, that ball's got to be out of your glove and being able to get in that throwing motion as fast as possible. So that's what I teach. Don't get me wrong. When you play on bad fields, that's what you should do. If it's there, everything should stay in the middle of your body, because there might be times you need to take one off the chest and catch it in the air and throw. But when you're playing on turf or a good field, I want everybody to focus on actually catching the ball, not actually just bringing everything, your hands to the middle of your body. Because again, if I count the moves, it's catch, here, and then your footwork, and then you throw. Again, everybody has their way.
No, and I think the problem too is when these guys get out there and they have their forum, they feel they have to be so one thing because that's what's going to make me different as an instructor. And I think some of it gets lost in translation. So getting to your point, like Ron Washington's talking about getting a short hop. Like we always teach our guys, get the short hop with a big hop. Real simple. If I have a really big hop, I actually tell my guys, catch it deep because I'm really strong and I'll get rid of that thing. Like I don't want to reach out here, funnel it all the way in. I'll just leave my glove right here and let the ball travel. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But what the problem is, and when you played short and I played short, if I wanted to get to defend a bad hop, I would reach forward and make it short. Now guys took that as like, that's how you field every single ground ball. It's like, no, that's when I misread my footwork and I'm here and I go, crap, I need another foot. I'm getting an in-between hop and I go and grab it and I push through it because I'm going to make it a short hop and I'm actually running through that ball probably and being athletic. I have come to realize, like I watched your Instagram, Chris sent it to me, and I was the same way. Like as soon as I hit my glove, I'm deflecting it.
He deflects, yeah.
Right. But what I've learned in coaching is that if I do deflect, when I did deflect, I always flipped it sidearm because I'm so quick. I'm so quick with the hands and my feet have to be quick. So now, like for a kid, if I tell him, if you're going to throw over the top, yeah, you can deflect, but keep your hands together, get strong, and that would get over the top, so to speak. But, I tell the kids all the time, like, you get that ball, and if you learn to flip balls over as a shortstop, that's how I stopped making errors, when I just catch flip.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I just think it's like the main point that you said that hits home for me is it's misunderstood and not explained properly, just like launch angle. Everybody goes into it. I'm not even going to get into it, but it's not explained properly. Don't get me wrong. There are times you have to funnel the ball when it's like you're caught in between and you're like, oh shit, I'm just going to bring it here. Yeah. But if you're moving and everything is going here, it's all you're doing is taking that out and going. There's sometimes, don't get me wrong, that deflecting shit that I do off the wall, that's just for fun. I mean, there's only one guy that ever did that. That was probably, or two, Ozzie Smith and Diskel. Those are the only two guys that ever deflected like that in games. But to me, it's just like, I feel like there's two factors in the funneling thing. Is three factors. It's not explained properly. There's way more turf fields now than there ever was.
God, Jimmy hates that.
Yeah, and there's so many more inexperienced trainers out there that all they're doing is watching what everybody else does, and boom, they're doing it too.
Man, you must be in my brain because you just led me to the next thing I'm going to put you in the spot.
Wait, I want to tell Frankie one more thing.
All right,
Like
go
this.
ahead.
You're going to like it. So this is what I do. I tell the kids to freeze where they catch the ball, right? Mm-hmm. And then we work through, and this is going to be hard to explain over a podcast. But basically what I do with the kids is we catch the ball comfortably out front, not extended, just comfortable like an athlete. Then we move our feet and we get our hands on top of the ball. So if I put a baseball or I put like a bucket, right, where I catch it and I move my feet and I do this and I drop the ball lands in the bucket because our body went around. Everything went around the baseball where I caught it. So there, like that's like what you're saying too. There is no funnel. You know, like if I take a double play and I catch it and do that, the ball never moved. Mm-hmm. It's just boom. Because I move. I jabbed it first a little bit. Yeah. So it's none of this. And, you know, when we get together one day, we'll have fun with it.
No problem. Let's do video on it.
Yeah, really.
All right, we're going to go on to the next controversial topic because we want to make sure to get this in. All right. A few weeks ago, you tuned in or you saw or you captured something that we posted about a guest that we had. We're not going to say any names, because we don't say names here, right, Brian? No names. Okay. So I get a text message from you, right? And I'm like, oh, Frank texted me, right? I go and I looked at it. I must have just been finished eating dinner. And I look at it, and I'm going to read with no names, but I'm going to read what he sends me. He goes, bro, you can't be serious with that clown. He goes, nah, man. He goes, zero experience to base anything off of what he says. He goes, FML. So everybody out there knows what FML is, right? Now, what really quick, because I mean, obviously this is about having fun too, but what turned you off? Well, what turns you off about, I guess, the quote unquote people who have not been in the game and their place in the game nowadays, I guess?
Again, it's how are you going to explain something to a kid or to an older kid or even to a pro guy when you've never felt it, you've never done it, and you've never done it at any level? So not only how is not even the kid, because he's not paying for it, how is the parent being that naive because you're caught up in the person's amount of followers? So how do you feel like your son or your daughter is going to get the best education possible, the best education through skill set, if the person can't even demonstrate something properly, if the person is going off of something that he learned when he went to a convention, or something he learned that he went somewhere where these certain guys are popular just to get on theirs, and then now he's taking all of their guys, all of their followers following him now. So I don't know. For me, I have one of my hashtags is experience over YouTube. He's just, I don't care. I don't care if you played NAIA. You are at a level where you can understand whether it's a one big game you could relate to. I remember this one game where it was bases loaded and that my heart was pumping and I felt this and I felt that.
You have experience to draw off of.
Yes. Like, again, like if you were teaching me, Chris, I'm going to be like, hey, Chris, like that feeling that you talk about, how do you relate that to? Like, what do you mean? Like, tell me one example of that. Like, kids don't do that. Kids just like, they're robots. In through one ear and they're trying to retain it. And they're like, let me do this because he said to do this. Like, so that's my pet peeve. And it's not only that one particular clown. There's a bunch of other ones out there. Again.
Yeah, and I kind of see it like a guy like Frankie. I mean, you got your PhD in baseball. You know, like anything you say trumps because you've been there, you've done it. you know, and us as minor leaguers, we're a little bit we're below you. We don't.
Right, we have our graduates. He's got the PhD. We got the graduate.
I didn't play with Griffey and A-Rod and all these guys, all this knowledge and experience but you know, we played at a high level. I think there's some value to get from some of these guys. I mean, I work with Driveline. You know, a lot of guys that maybe played Division III, Division II. There's some value in those guys. You know, that they're almost nerds of the game. You know, they're so into it, but they can't match what Frankie knows and Frank Calonato. You know, they just will never have that feel for the game. But I still think there's some value you can get from those type of guys.
And I think that's a fair comment or fair assessment. I think the problem is when they try to make it seem as though they are now the answer, or they have the answer. You know?
Yeah, that's
they're the go-to guy.
Right. You know, the one thing that you said when you started explaining was the feel thing. And I know, Jimmy, you always talk about how important having feel is for being able to teach people.
Yeah, and you know what I think it all boils down to is that the people just don't understand the value of what experience is. They just can't wrap it around their head. They think, no, I know this stuff. You know, even a parent, you know, they think they know. But I know we all know here that when we teach kids, I love knowing exactly what that kid is feeling. I know mentally what he's feeling, and I know physically what he's feeling because I failed just as much as him. You know, imagine these guys you see on YouTube and whatnot, they actually stepped in the box with like a guy like Teacher Man, the 62-year-old guy, right? He's going to step in the box. Like, I know there's some stuff I heard, and I would step into spring training and be like, whoa, Jesus, that doesn't work. It's one pitch. That's how.
Oh, no, but it worked for one guy. Maybe let's do it with everybody.
Yeah, you have to know what it looks like to face a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah. And Chris knows this. Like, to me, like anybody that knows me, I never name drop. It's tough for me to even talk about the fact that I played in the big leagues with certain people because that's just not who I am. And you guys refer to PhD, and I played in the big leagues. You guys in the minor leagues. It's not even that. When I teach, I don't say, hey, when I played with Griffey, this is how we swung, or I saw the best do this. I don't do that. What I do is whatever that kid has and whatever that kid needs is going to be different from this kid. So I'm working with this kid's needs and this kid's needs. I'm not trying to make them the same. I don't cookie cut. I don't do none of that. And that's what I think separates me, the experience to be able to deal with different types of needs and being able to assess if this is not working for you, I have 3 more ideas for you. You know, that's what I feel the experience comes in. And you guys have that and I have it. So it's not about, for me, it's never been about I'm at the higher level. Why are you talking to a guy that never got past A ball? Never that. It's the professional side of things. It separates things from a lot of people. But just being able to have that experience to be able to teach different things to that person that might not get it, it might not work for him. Now what do? If you have one philosophy, you teach one way, like the Teacher Man guy, his thing is this.
You don't have enough tools in your bag to go to. Yeah, you don't have.
And Chris, you always talk about
that's where the experience comes in.
Making adjustments, right? And that's true because the longer you play, the more adjustments you have to make in this game. And it's a learning experience every time. And you know what those kids are feeling because you've been through it.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, the other thing I say too, Frank, and you probably know this as well, is that, you know, when I'm working with kids, you know, a lot of my ability to teach them or help them is because of the stuff that I failed at, you know, stuff that I struggled with, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you know that feeling, you can see it in them, or you can see where some of their challenges and obstacles are, and you can relate back to that to kind of, you know, help them with their current situations, you know. So
yeah, definitely.
One couple other things. Would you have made it to the big leagues as a shortstop? I know you said that already.
Hell yeah. You know what kills me is like guys like Mike Benjamin, Luis Sojo. They play in the big leagues for like 15 years. Like Cairo. Like what? These guys play for more than 10, 15 years in the big leagues. Like,
would you do it all over again? Would you, if you could do it all over again, would you say, no, I'll stay at short?
No. No.
You don't want to take that risk, right?
No, definitely not. But I felt like I could have played shortstop in the big leagues, and well, you know what? I could have played shortstop past A ball or double A maybe, and then who knows what would have happened after that. But I could have gotten better. I could have gotten bigger, and I could have learned some different things. But maybe made it as a big league as a shortstop. I feel like I could have, yeah.
And now, the other thing that you're doing that we didn't bring up was you have the summer program, the 33 Rods, where you're in Brooklyn with a lot of, kids from the neighborhood and putting good things together for them. Quickly tell us about that.
So I only have one team. Last year I had a showcase team where we went out to specific. I sat down with every player individually and I wrote down. I'm like, hey, give me 3 schools that you want to go to, all right? And then we sat down, we spoke, and I'm like, you're not in those 3 schools realms. Your GPA is 2.8. Stop it. You're not going to Yale. Just like that. So I organized specific showcases for their specific needs and their specific talent level. So I got a bunch of them into schools, whatever. That's that. This year and last year I also had an 11U. So now this year I only have a 12U team. And I love it that way, and the parents love it that way because now I'm going to stay with that team until they go all the way to high school. And my goal is to get them into the right high school and into the right colleges. And I even had an opportunity this winter to take a bunch of them to some boarding schools, which is something that they never would have thought about. And at the end of each visit, after the first visit, they were like, Coach, why are you bringing us here? I was like, hey, buddy, I got a question for you. This school's campus is bigger than my college campus. So if you can't survive here by yourself and prepare for that, what are you going to do after your first semester? You're gonna go back home because you're homesick and you're not aware of it. You don't know how to wake yourself up in the morning, wash your own clothes. So that's, I wanted to give them that experience, and it just opened up eyes. And it's Chris, this from the younger kids level. If the parents are not in it, and it makes it that much tougher. And knock on wood, man, I have 13 great parents. I have 13 great parents that understand my mission statement for the organization for each one of their kids, and it's just progress reports. I check the report cards every marking period. This year, I'm gonna do something in an abbreviated way because of whatever's happening right now. Is check this out. I'm giving the parents a composition book, and after every game, I want them to write down 3 things that they saw their son do good or bad. And I'm going to write back in that book, and then I'm going to give it back to them. And at the end of the season, we're going to go over this. We're going to sit down with the parents and the kid. The exit meeting is going to be that book right there. Because I can't count on kids at 12 years old writing their at-bats down in a little book. So I want their parents to start seeing some things, and then I want to see what the parents, instead of them going like this of what I should have done, but thankfully I don't have those parents, but just they start seeing things. They start seeing things, what they saw, and then they see what I write down, and then they start getting on the same page, and they're starting to understand what I want for their kid and move on and get them into the right schools.
That's great stuff, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Frank, I think we're going to have to bring you on again down the road because, there's so much stuff we could talk about with you, and, it's been awesome. I think the people are going to love to hear what you had to say. But we actually have another recording we have to get going to here.
No problem, brother.
Yeah, hey, Frank, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank
dude.
you, Frankie.
Anytime, fellas, anytime.
And to our audience out there, thanks for tuning in, and until next time.